Hey everyone, here's another video update for Treasure Reef, and today Treasure Reef is 2 years and 8 months old. As you can see in this aquatic log app, let's focus here in a second, 2 years, 8 months, and you can see its latest parameters. Alkalinity at 9.4, nitrate at 5.3, phosphates at 0.27, and then magnesium is fairly low at 1280. So the two that I'm currently addressing are alkalinity and phosphate. That's why they are in red. And I'll talk about the nitrates as well as my other nutrients in today's video. So first, let's take a quick overview of where we at. As you can see, the tank is a mixed reef, and it's about 3 years old, almost there. Everything that you see here has been grown by me from frags, and I've pruned it many times, and recently that's all I've been doing with this tank is lots of culling, lots of pruning and cleaning up, and I'm nowhere finished. But as a result, you may find some of these frags at one of your favorite local shops, so depends on where you are in the city. There's a good chance they may carry what I've got. Now, having said that, let's take a deep dive into, first of all, what's going on inside of the tank, and only then I'll talk about the overall husbandry and my nutrients. So we'll talk about it in a second. There's also a few changes to my lighting schedule, but we'll leave it towards the end of the video. So first, as you can see, this is still SPS dominant tank. I just have always had lots of luck with SPS and never had really any problems there. So other than, coloring up some additional ones, but overall I just like how SPS corals grow and formation and how easy it is to frag them. You don't really need a saw, nothing. And I do enjoy that process. Having said that, this is there's lots of acropora, there's lots of montipora coral. I've always kept this little anemone island. I find that as long as you have sand around it, you'll be okay just with anemones, and they're not going to go on to the main rock. And a few times when I have removed the anemones, which was painful but doable. Now, you can see in terms of the fish, there's no angels in here, unfortunately, at least not yet, but I have a lot of tangs. The biggest one is this Nassau tang right there. Buddy, come out. Yeah, so probably one of my favorite fish. Always enjoyed it. Yeah, he is coming out. Sailfin, this is the Desjardins sailfin, so love this guy as well. And probably my favorite fish of them all is powder blue. This guy is not doing very well. As you can see, he's still very thin, but he's fighting, and I've had him for about probably 5 months now. So he is growing. I at some point will need to treat him. Just not sure what would be the right approach yet. Probably some sort of a combination of Prazipro, maybe dried Prazipro, and if you have some suggestions on how to do it properly on this guy, let me know. The only problem, so he eats a lot, he's a voracious eater, he's just not gaining any weight. So I'm thinking that there must be some sort of a parasite. This dory hasn't grown much at all, but I think now finally starts to increase in height, in length. And really cool thing about this clam here, I bought it probably 3-4 months ago from Reef Wholesale, so shout out to them. And this guy always keeps shifting and readjusting. So even though it's sitting on a little clam base here, he just turns around, and I think he just likes more light. Now, and another underrated fish is this Tamini tang, which I do like a lot. Now let's talk about the coral. So there are 5 pillars in this aqua structure. So although it looks fairly uniform, there's lots of nooks and crannies, but there's actually 5 distinct pillars that I can remove in theory at any time, and they all have different types of acropora, some mantiporas on it, lots of plating mantipora. You may notice that I have removed this big green slimer that I had in the middle. This particular green slimer was probably at least 24 inches in diameter. It was just huge. I've never grown any other coral to be as big, but at some point it just became over dominant. And I do like that from the side, at least now, I can see the whole tank, whereas before it was just blocking the view. Now, in terms of coloration, I think things are starting to color up quite nicely. Still not where I want them to be. One of the reasons is also I had a huge salinity drop due to some circumstances, and that means that I caught it just at the right time, but overall I think my salinity dropped from 35 ppt, so parts per thousand, to I think it was 26 or 27, so that's a huge drop. And as you can see, I haven't actually lost anything. I think the only thing I've noticed that was other than just corals losing color is this guy over here. So you can see that he's actually not super happy. And yes, my Aiptasia is now starting to come back. I've lost the filefish, which I think was keeping it at bay. So I'm gonna be in a market for either filefish or maybe a copper band if he's actually going to be eating. So if you happen to be in Toronto and know of a place where I can find a copper band that eats, I'm game. Now, this is as far as corals go. Now I have a few frags that I'm introducing to this tank. So shout out to my friend Andre, who I have visited. He's probably one of the best reefers I've personally known, and he's just puts everybody else to shame. I haven't seen a single coral in his system that was not at least at 80 to 90% of its best possible coloration. So most of them are at 100. Some are even at 110. Now, let's talk a little bit about the nutrients. So I think the biggest change so far, a welcome change, was me measuring nitrates. Finally, I was able to lay my hands on HANA nitrate high range checker. So, and by the way, there's now a caddy, matching caddy for it on the Treasure Corals website. So feel free to check it out. But I love this thing. This is precision probably is not as accurate as maybe the low range. Obviously it's not, but in terms of just giving you that ballpark and the fact that it gives you a number and you don't need to guess what the color is, and also that it doesn't max out at, let's say, 4 ppm that my trusty Red Sea was. I know you can do the other formula, but it's a lot of pain. So without any pain, you get a number, even if it's not the most accurate number. The precision is actually good on it. I'm fine with that. So it just gives me a good idea of what's going on. Now, so I always like to have some nitrates in my system, and right now I'm actually not dosing any nitrates. Now, for phosphates, they are very high, but as you can see, corals are doing well, and I think the main reason for the high nitrates is I actually bottomed out a couple of weeks ago, where I think the corals were actually soaking in way more, and I've also done a little bit of cleaning. So now I've just been feeding the fish a lot more, and I think the results are pretty decent. So I'm not using any phosphate remover, and I never really have, and so far everybody's doing quite well. Now, magnesium was fairly low, so I'm currently working on raising it. Haven't just remeasured it, but that's coming. And finally, I was gonna talk about the lighting. So this is Aqua Elimination Hydra 64 HDs. Now, for some of you who want to see my schedule, you can Google for Aqua Elimination Signature Series and you'll see me there. You can download my schedule. This one I think was for the 52 HD. 64 is a little bit different, and I've been running a few modifications of my original schedule. I was happy with pretty much all of them, but I've actually changed it as of late. So a couple of days ago I've listened to an interview of Worldwide Corals with Ecotech, and they mentioned that they only do a peak light of only 4 hours in the day, and the rest of it is predominantly blue. So I think I'm gonna try and do something similar. So I actually have modified my schedule. So right now it's 2:40 p.m. on a Sunday, and you can see this is kind of it's blue, but there's some white in it, and probably in another hour and 20 minutes the light is actually going to change to heavy blue. And while I used to not like that, I usually like to see what's going on in the tank and see the fish. I think I'm going to give it a try, and I want to actually enjoy the fluorescence. There's lots of different things here that fluoresce, so I think that's what I'm going to do next. So that is pretty much the rest of the video. I suggest you check out, first of all, if you haven't subscribed or like this video, please do. If you watched all the way till the end, maybe you'll find it worth it, and it also motivates me to do more elaborate and more thorough videos that focus on different topics. Or if you want to ask some questions or want me to talk about a particular item, just write in the comments below, and I make notes of all your comments, and over time I'll make sure to basically talk about all of them. And finally, check out treasurecorals.ca or .com website, where you'll find a lot of products that I'm printing here locally in Toronto. So I'm doing it all by myself. So I come up with the ideas, and basically anything you do will support. If you buy something, this will help support this channel and this hobby. So thank you very much for watching, and with this, have a wonderful beginning of October. See ya.